Very good evening to you. Welcome to the West Ham Weekly on the West Ham Voice. When none of us are happy, are we? I mean, what a torrid, horrible game we had to endure at the London Stadium on Sunday. Probably the worst experience I think we've had at that new stadium so far. Will it happen again? Who knows? The one thing's for sure is it was just god awful. And, sometimes, you know what I'm like. I always try to find something to sort of hang on to, some kind of positive to try and talk about on a Monday night when I do the West Ham Weekly show. There's nothing that I could think of that I could actually try and sugarcoat in this case. I haven't prepared a normal West Ham Weekly show tonight. You're not going to hear about the women's team. You're not going to hear about the academy, the development team, or the loan news or anything like that. I'll probably do that. I might do that tomorrow evening and maybe give you an update on other West Ham related or David Moyes news. But for tonight, of course, we can't deny there's only really one thing on the agenda, and that is what's going to happen with David Moyes now, given the absolute pasting that we got at the hands of Arsenal on Sunday. But before I go into that, there's a couple of stories that I was given tonight. Well, one story that I was given tonight, and that's in relation to apparently a couple of managers who are out there that have been linked as potential alternatives to David Moyes. Now, there's one that I think sounds extremely decent, and there's another which, when I've looked at it, I've thought, I'm not so sure. And when I go through them, I'll explain why. So let's start off with the first one, and that is a man called Christophe Galtier. And as I joked earlier, no relation to John Paul Galtier. If you don't know who John Paul Galtier is, then sorry about that. Christophe Galtier, 57 years of age, born in Marseille. He's an ex-defender, played for a number of clubs, primarily in France. Only made it to French under-21 international status, never made the full international team. His managerial career includes Saint-Etienne, Lille, Nice, and 1 year at Paris Saint-Germain, where he won the title in 2023. He now manages for Al Duhail in Qatar. Honours: he turned Lille from a relegation team to French League champions in the 2020-21 season. And as I've just mentioned, he's also been a French League champion with Paris Saint-Germain as well. His managerial career in Qatar at the moment doesn't smack of someone who's at the top of his game. Played 15, won 6, drew 1, lost 8. And just to add a little bit of controversy on top of all that, in April 2023, Galtier was accused of making racist comments whilst he was manager at Nice, which he denied. And in June last year, together with his son, Galtier was taken into custody by the French. I'm laughing because it's always fucking West Ham, isn't it? We never have anyone that's got a clean slate. It's always someone who, like, oh yeah, there's this manager linked or there's this player linked. Oh, and by the way, he's got a dodgy agent, or the manager's been accused of this, or the manager's a little bit of backhand. Why can't we fucking have, for once in our lives, a manager linked or a player linked where there's no controversy? Anyway, I'll go back to it. In June 2023, him and his son were taken into custody by the French police as part of the investigation into suspicions of racial and religious discrimination. It was announced that he was going to face trial in December. And amongst other things, Galtier allegedly said, enough Muslims. He allegedly said Algerians are the worst, and describing, I don't even know if I want to say the next bit. He described black people in a particular way as well. If you want to look it up, you go and look it up. I'm not going to repeat it. At the trials, he denied all the allegations and he was acquitted of the charges by the court. Now, I'm laughing, but it ain't even funny. But anyway, look, for me, this would be the disaster signing because he sounds to me like another Manuel Pellegrini. If you remember when we brought Pellegrini in, he was, I can't remember where he was managing. Was it in China? He was managing football in China. And then he came back. He was given another opportunity to manage in the Premier League. And of course, West Ham United gave him that silver platter. Christophe Galtier sounds a little bit similar. I may be completely wrong. I mean, I guess you've got to be half decent if you take over managing PSG. But I reckon even I could win a trophy at PSG when you had the likes of, the sort of players that he had at his disposal. But not for me. He sounds like another Manuel Pellegrini. So let's get on to the serious link, shall we? And that, of course, is Paulo Fonseca. It's not the first time he's been linked to us. He's been linked to us before. Born in Mozambique, Fonseca, but of Portuguese parentage, an ex-centre-back, played all his football in Portugal, but no major honours as a footballer. He became a manager in 2005, starting with a Portuguese youth club, and then until 2016, continued to manage in Portugal until 2016 when he moved to Ukrainian club Shakhtar Donetsk for 3 years. And then he moved on to Roma in Italy for 2 years, and now is manager of French club Lille since 2022. Now, interesting, Fonseca likes to play a 4-2-3-1 system. Have I heard that somewhere before? Of course you have, because that's what David Moyes likes to play. But there's quite a subtle difference between David Moyes' 4-2-3-1 and Paulo Fonseca's 4-2-3-1. Unlike Moyes, he's not based on the low block. His emphasis is on dominating possession. In the three behind the striker, he always has one player that plays like a second striker, almost like a number 10, who's very close to the striker. That means the striker's got support. So someone like Kudus would be absolutely ideal in that role. He himself describes his football tactics as an offensive playing style to overcome the opponent, to play in the opponent's half in order to create many scoring chances. Now, if you read David Moyes' resume, it's like, let's not have the ball, play in our half, let people come to us, and if we manage to get a chance or two, we might go and score. Quite a different philosophy. You can have a 4-2-3-1. You can use it in very, very different ways. His main achievements as a manager, Ukrainian Premier League 3 times with Shakhtar. And currently, Lille lie 5th in the French League, 9 wins, 4 losses and 8 draws, which is quite decent, I guess. Fonseca could be the answer to what we need to use the squad. People are talking constantly about using the squad, getting the best out of the squad, etc., making the most out of our attacking players, etc. And Fonseca could be the answer. He could be someone that would be able to unlock what Jared Bowen, Mohamed Kudus, and Lucas Paqueta have in terms of how we attack a game. Now, it's certainly a fantastic prospect to go for. Whether he'd want to leave Lille or whether Lille would let him go is another matter, of course. But I think it's quite interesting. So what of David Moyes? Well, we've heard again that contracts have stalled. Contract negotiations have stalled. As you know, not teaching you, anything new. Before Christmas, there was a hell of a lot of talk that Moyes was going to be offered a new deal. David Moyes alluded to it. And then after the transfer window shut, he mentioned it again and said, we're not far off. We're going to go back to it now that the window's shut. However, 2024 has not been complimentary to David Moyes or West Ham United. We haven't won a game since the turn of the year, and we suffered our worst defeat since 1963 at home. Apparently, tonight we hear that David Moyes has got 4 games to save his job. We've been here before, haven't we, people? We've been here before where we've heard, if David Moyes loses 6 in a row, he'll be out of his job. If he wins the next 3, he'll be in a job, etc., etc. This is Groundhog Day for us. And when you look at the games that we've got, they're not all that easy. So he's got it all to do. Forest away this coming Saturday. Brentford at home, bogey team. Everton away, They beat us and Burnley at home, fighting for their lives. So they're not winnable games. But I think the consolation for David Moyes, or the relief more than consolation, is that David Moyes is almost definitely going to have Lucas Paqueta and Mikel Antonio back for all of those games, which will make a massive difference. Now, let's be honest. I'm going to get onto the Arsenal game in a minute. But let's be honest. Even if we had Paqueta in the team on Sunday, we would maybe have lost 4-0 instead of 6. I don't think he would have been good, to offer an alternative, something different. But I still think, I hate it to admit it, but Arsenal were dominant. They were better than us. They were outsmarted us. They were just, in every department on the pitch on Sunday, they kind of had our number, didn't they? So David Moyes looks like, quite possibly, yet again, we're back in this position where he's got to win games, the next few games, in order to, put some ease with regards to what might happen with his future. Look, I've also been told that even if we get through the end by the end of this season, look, first of all, by the way, people, 4 games, take that with a pinch of salt. I really don't think David Moyes is going to be sacked anytime soon. We're safe from relegation. We will lose our place in Europe if we don't start picking up points again. We're going to have to win the Europa League, which is a massive, massive order now. Can't see that happening. So do I think David Moyes is going to be sacked between now and the end of the season? No, I don't. Do I think that his contract might be in jeopardy of being renewed? Yeah, I do. I think it might definitely be in jeopardy of being renewed. And given what's happened, and you know what I'm like, like I said earlier at the beginning of the show, always trying to look for a positive, but there's no positive I can take from the manner of which we lost that game at the weekend. So I'm going to go into that in a moment, but I can see I've got something like 200 odd comments to pick up on. So let's go into those and say hello to good evening to everyone. Where are the comments gone? Oh, I can't see your comments. There they are. There they are. Let's go all the way to the top and say good evening to everybody. Who have we got? Who started? 2119? You're wrong. Good evening, usual. I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Debbie and Mark. Absolute disgrace we were on Sunday. Poor selections by Moyes, and the way we lined up was abysmal. Drop Zuma and Souček. Moyes is like Southgate, too many players. He will never drop. I agree. And I'm going to talk about, all the elements of our lineup, defense, midfield, in a moment. Mark again. If we were to go for a manager, I would absolutely love Fonseca. He has done wonders with Lille and utilises the youth, which would be a great thing in West Ham's case, especially Steiden the diver. Good point. Epic, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Good evening, David. No, I'm still here, mate. Mr. Williams, just before your bedtime. How are you, mate? Good evening to you, Stelios, and all our fellow Hammett. It's going to take some time to get over yesterday. Nottingham can't come soon enough. We've got the Prosecco ready. No rum, Paul. No rum. I might bring a little flask. So maybe a little bit of rum, but nothing like Sheffield, okay? But we'll get the Prosecco ready. Paul and Wiggy are the ones that lead me astray when we go to away games. I don't drink, and then when I'm with them, all of a sudden, I've drunk half a bottle of rum before I've known and hide it behind the bushes. Toha, 2117 for me. Is this Galtier related to the guy from... Already done that one. At least we will see some style. Shaky, good evening to you. Anthony, good evening to you. Daniela, hello there. A very dismal showing on Sunday by everyone, manager, players, and the fans. I get they were unhappy with the performances, but walking out like that has left the name of West Ham open to ridicule. Look, I stayed, but then it's my option to do so. I don't... For the first time, I get why people wanted to walk out. I get at 4-0, I thought, people were saying, should we go? Let's go to the pub, whatever. Let's go and have a drink. And I was like, oh, well, I moved to another part of the stadium with some other friends and we sort of at least we had a bit of banter. And, come near the end of the game, when we were losing 6-0, we started singing. People the fans started singing. We're West Ham's Claret and Blue Army and all that, and try to get some sort of, solace from such a dismal game. But I do get why people left. Mark, good evening to you. Poor leadership on and off the pitch. I agree with that. I'm going to come to Zuma in a minute. After the first goal winning, we capitulated, and Moyes didn't have a clue either. Good evening to you, NWO. I hope you're well. Good evening, Ian. How are you? Mr. West Ham, what a pile of shite, mate. But Arsenal are a good team. Moyes likes them. And how can they even consider a new contract? It's if the stories that are coming out tonight are true, then they are reconsidering. And let's see if he's going to get these 4 games or whatever. I really don't think he's going to be sacked. We've got to capitulate, even more. If we don't win any of the next 4 games, yeah, it's quite possible. Somehow I don't see us, I don't see him being sacked, but it's going to be even less likely that he's going to get a new contract. Flamer, good evening to you. Champions of Europe. It's embarrassing now, isn't it? To be quite honest with you. Honest comment here. It's been 2 years. Been 2 years. Lots of fans have disconnected from the club just because of David Moyes. You're right. I've got a sick cat here, so forgive me. You're right. Good boy. I think that even Sullivan will do a better job than him as manager. Daniela, Crystal Palace 1, Chelsea 0. Let's get some other people in that I haven't said hello to already. Grafson, good evening to you. I reckon the harsh early booking of Alvarez changed the game. I agree with you on that as well. I actually do. I think it had a real impact on our midfield. Really, I don't want to blame Pawson for our defeat, but Pawson yet again just demonstrates what a poor referee he is. The minute we touched any of their players, they were down, cards seemed to come out. They were pulling us. They were getting in our way. They were dragging us down. Professional fouls. They didn't even get a yellow card. Anthony, Zuma needs the captain's armband taken away and dropped. Souček needs to be dropped. No fight, no commitment. None of them fit to wear the shirt. An absolute crap display. Can't disagree with that. Paul, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Moyes needs to go and manage the Czech Republic. Souček. And then he dropped Souček and Sufal. Michael, pundits on BBC and Sky putting fan unrest down to Arsenal and the last few games. They haven't got a clue. Lineker thinks it will all be forgotten soon. That ain't going to be forgotten for a long, long time to come. That hurt. That hurt. As West Ham fans, the one thing we expect is for the players to put in effort. If we get beat 6-0 and we put in effort, we would have gone, fuck. It was a little bit like the Man United game the week before where we did, I think we put in effort. I think we tried to play a good game and we got stung. Man United did a Moyes on Moyes in terms of their counter-attacking, etc. But at least I walked away with that from that game, the Man United game, going, do you know what? All right, we lost. It was shit. 3-0 scoreline, flattered them, etc. But we gave it a go. On Sunday, we didn't even give it a go. That was the big difference. We just, as someone said, we capitulated. I think we capitulated more when they got the penalty rather than the first goal. First goal, heads dropped a little bit. Penalty, that was it. That was game over. And then all of a sudden, we gave away another 2 goals. James, good evening to you. The way our heads dropped after conceding the first goal showed Arsenal were wide open for a heavy defeat. DiCanio, WHU, good evening to you. Have the club identified those season ticket holders that took part in the stadium evacuation? And will they be getting a warning letter about their future conduct as we have 50,000 on the waiting list? I like that comment. Hammerette, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Steve. How are you, mate? Still numb? Absolutely. You all got the timing wrong, but anyway. Anthony, Moyes should have made changes at half-time. The game lost, so give the some. I completely agree. Completely agree with that. The game was gone. Why not sort of make, all right, he made changes. He took Zuma off and he took Alvarez off because Alvarez had a yellow card. Fair play. Zuma was playing shit. Alvarez needed to be protected. Fine. But then why not make another 1 or 2 changes? What difference would it have made if he brought Cornet on, for example, and see what Cornet can do? Who else have we got? Toha. Glad to hear you're on the... Oh, yeah. I hope you're okay. I forgot to message you about that. Hammer, I hope you're getting better soon. That does not sound like a good day. Wait, remembering you say you were feeling unusually tired. I hope you're well, Hammerette. So, Rupert, good evening, mate. Watched your post-match video today. Thought it was house under the hammer because you stood outside your house for ages. Was expecting Dion Dublin to pop out with tea and biscuits. Do you want to buy my house, Rupert? I'll send you the price in private message. Howard, good evening to you. I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. Steve, hello, mate. Battered sad hammers. Moyes out. South. Moyes out. Are you going to say something more? Good evening to you, Steve. I hope you're well, mate. Obsidian, how are you, mate? Evening all. Am I early all? No, you're never early. Bill, hello, mate. I hope you're well. I just watched 442. Yeah, I've seen it, but I've seen it advertised, but I haven't seen the actual video. The perfect analysis of Moyes' mistake with Ben Johnson. Oh, well, I can give that analysis. Once again, player played out of position. That was because of no transfer business. Well, I'm going to talk about that, because I've talked about the left side of our attacking play and what Moyes could do. Should I give him a call and just say, David, come on, mate? Anyway, David, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Hammerette, just putting this out there. Nagelsmann, German coach, previously managed by Munich, Leipzig, and Hoffenheim. Hoffenheim, 36 years old, but started his managerial career early due to injury retirement. Good shout. Yeah. Darren, hello, mate. How are you? Are you going on Saturday? We're going to see you on the train. Wiggy's got the Prosecco ready. Aaron, is that missable ball sack looking fucker sacked? No, he's still here. Michael, good evening to you. He's Germany manager at the moment until the summer Euros. If he's a success, they'll extend this contract, apparently. So we're not getting him then. Let's scroll down. Who have we not said hello to? Epic. I heard Putin made Tucker Carlson wait 2 hours. Still is probably going to make us wait 3. I almost didn't do tonight's show, but I thought, do you know what? I thought if I don't do tonight's show, people are going to come out and go, you only do a show when things are kind of all right. You should be on there when things are bad. I'm here, but I did think about not doing it. Lee, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Foxes. How are you? Good evening, Matt B. I hope you're well. And good evening to you, Trini. And to you, Gary, as well. And to you, Rocky, how are you, mate? Thanks for joining. Good evening, Tony. I hope you're well. Graham, I hope you're well, mate. I'm totally disgusted with our circus of a club. You hear an awful lot of things about the club, don't you? You hear an awful lot of things that go on behind the scenes, and what happened or what didn't happen in the transfer window. And you start thinking to yourself, we thought we moved away from the circus tag, but it always seems to be just around the corner, doesn't it? Unfortunately. Keith, am I the only one hoping for another embarrassing defeat? So there's another nail in Moyes' coffin. I never wish for a defeat, even if it means... I don't think Moyes is going to be sacked. I think I genuinely do think that. I'm interested in this thing about he's got the next 4 games to go. But then, when you've got Lucas Paqueta and you've got Mikel Antonio coming back, and then you've got 4 games to go, it's like, well, we've got a couple of aces. Well, we've got one ace up our sleeves and we've got Antonio back. But, it will make our squad stronger by having those 2 back. So this 4 games to go rubbish yet again. We've had this last season when we were battling relegation, and the reason why I don't think Moyes is going to be sacked before the end of this season is because we're not going to get relegated. If we were fighting relegation last season and he didn't get sacked, it's highly unlikely we're going to see him get sacked now. But hey, stranger things have happened. But like I said earlier on, it's very likely if things continue to go south, then he won't get a new contract. And by the sounds of it, the board are having second thoughts. Good evening, Martin. I hope you're well. That ruined my Sunday. Ruined my whole week. Keith, Kalispera to you, mate. I don't know how to type that last bit in Greek. I'm glad because I wouldn't have been able to read it in Greek. And I'm a bit worried about you if you think I'm sexy. Sammy, I think we need a new manager to change our gaming tactics. The defensive game is so boring. Thank you, Moyes, for the memories. It's not just the defensive, is it? I'll go into that in a moment. Colin, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Who else have we got here that I haven't said hello to? Mojo, hello, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Who else have we got? Okay, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Black Country, how are you, mate? I hope you all good. Had a good Monday? Not really, but we make the most of it the best we can. Let's talk about the Arsenal game. Right, first things first, no changes to the starting lineup. And then I thought, okay, well, he's not going to make any changes to the starting lineup. So he's probably going to make changes to the formation. And when I saw it, and I think I talked about it last week, what David Moyes can do to balance the first 11 is probably go 5 at the back. And I was thinking to myself, okay, he's got Johnson playing, he's got Soufal playing. They can't both play at right back. So perhaps he's going to put either Johnson or Soufal as part of 3 at the back alongside Zuma and Agurd, and then Emerson and Johnson or Soufal as a wing back. And then you've got your 3 and then you've got your 2 or whatever. No. He didn't seem to learn from the mistake he made the week before and the week before that and the week before that, where he's tried God knows how many different players now as a left-sided attacking player. We've had Ward-Prowse there. We've had Johnson there. I think there's been someone else put there. He's tried everybody but the bleeding obvious. Either go 5 at the back and play Emerson as a wing back. At least you've got a balanced team there. Or go and put Cornet there, and drop Souček or Ward-Prowse or someone in order to have a left-sided attacking player. But he didn't do that. He didn't learn from his mistakes, as stubborn as he is, and he went with the same. And then is it any wonder that when we were looking for an outlet, as we all know, when we get the ball, or the few times that we had the ball, and he was looking for an outlet on the left-hand side, there was no one there. Because Ben Johnson's natural instinct is, well, I'm a defender by trade. So if I'm playing on the left side, I'm probably going to have to cover alongside Emerson, almost dropping almost like a 5, but not really a proper form 5. And so there was no one out there on the left. Yet again, we had issues out on the left-hand side. And why David Moyes didn't realise that, or maybe he does know this, but he's just so stubborn not to do something different. And what has this man got to do in order to get any game time at West Ham? He must be wondering, why didn't they just not let me go? Why? And he's also suffered the indignity. He was part of the Ivory Coast team. He's lost his place in the Ivory Coast national team. They've gone and won AFCON. He's congratulated his his former teammates, international teammates, for winning that. He's watching it by the sidelines. He's sitting on the bench. Even if you don't start the man, at least give him 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour. 4-0 at half time. Give him half a game and see what he's capable of doing. It's just very, very odd of David Moyes. He brought him on against Man United. All right, no great shakes, but at least he sort of balanced the team out. And I thought, okay, well, he's brought him on against Man United. He's kind of likely to play him at some point, if not the starting lineup. Then at some point, he might play him against Arsenal. Not a bit of it. He decided to go with Ben Johnson as a left-sided attacking midfielder. And then at halftime, Moyes changed it. Plan B. He put Ward-Prowse back over there, and he put Ben Johnson on the right, as if that was going to do any good. His experiment with Ward-Prowse the week before last also fell flat on its face and did absolutely nothing. And we were completely disorganized when it came to our defense, our midfield. Our midfield was weak. Ward-Prowse, no pace. Souček, no pace. Alvarez is the one that tries, but as someone said, the early booking that Alvarez got completely threw him off his game. And was that a booking? I don't know. Not really, to be quite honest with you. It was no worse a challenge he did than anybody else. But, whoever said it earlier on was absolutely correct. The minute he got that booking, it was like, you've just weakened our midfield even further. We've got no pace in that midfield. We've got, defensive-minded players or got slow players. And then Alvarez, the only one that can really drive that midfield, has just had his wings clipped because he got an early booking. Unwarranted in my mind, but there you go. So our midfield itself had nothing. It had nothing to offer. And when you kind of looked at the way Arsenal's midfield were, the difference in the quality between their midfield and ours was so apparent. I've been at times I've kind of backed Souček. I've said he has a purpose. Even earlier this year, I admit it. I said he had a purpose. He scored a half dozen goals or whatever, and that's why he's in the team, etc. But lately, I mean, not just him, but many of the players have just not been turning up. Souček has looked completely lost, and it is odd. I think if he was an international for any other country, he probably wouldn't make his national team. He just had nothing to offer. And then when you look at Arsenal's midfield, this man, absolute Rolls Royce of a midfielder. He commanded that midfield, Odegaard. He was controlling it, and he made the game look so simple. He'll drop deep, pick the ball up, he'll look around, short pass, long pass, whatever he needed to do, carry the ball itself, and all we seemed to do throughout the game was we were scared. We were backing off and backing off and backing off and not being in their faces. And the big difference between West Ham and Arsenal was every time we got the ball for the few moments that we did, you had Arsenal players all over us. Kudus was snuffed out. Bowen was snuffed out. They didn't get an opportunity to be able to do anything with the ball at all. Our midfield weren't strong enough to hold on to it, couldn't even pass it from one player to the other because we were either too far apart or misplaced passes. The number of misplaced passes this season that we've done is just incredible, throughout every game, right from the start of the season. And we have got away with it with some games. There's been other games where we've just given balls away, cheap goals given away from defense or from midfield, etc. And when you look at the Arsenal midfield and what they had bags of energy, mindset, the way they were playing, you got to hand it to them. I hate it, but you got to hand it to them. And this man, he was quality. And, people were booing him and some people were clapping him, etc. I did neither. There was a lot of people that did neither clap him or boo him. It is what it is. But he demonstrated the quality that he had alongside Odegaard. And then when you compared what our midfield had to offer, it was we were miles apart. I think I said in the review I did last night that we didn't look like a Premier League team. If we're talking about, aspiring to keep hitting the heights of the Premier League, challenging for European places, etc. When you look at Arsenal and how far they progressed, and then West Ham, and the quality that they got in their midfield, which completely controlled that game, we are miles apart from it. And it's such a shame, because we have had the opportunity to get players in. We have spent money to get players in. And yet we seem to be, sort of bereft of any ideas at all. And it seems that every time we don't have this man, we seem to be lost. Have we gone back to... Do you remember the transfer window, in the summer where we were going, what a great squad, and even I was saying, we're no longer a one-man team. We're no longer a team relying on just one player. We've got quality players all around the pitch now. We've got Kudus, we've got Bowen, we've got Alvarez, we've got Paqueta, etc. Look at us. Look how great we are. Well, it seems that the one thing that the Arsenal game did was expose not just how bad we are at defending, but how many cracks we've got in the squad overall. It was pretty bad, and when we start looking at having to rely on Paqueta and Mikel Antonio to come back in order to salvage something for the rest of the season, it's quite sad, because that's not where we should be as a West Ham United unit. Okay, I know it was a disappointing transfer window and we got rid of the likes of Fornals and Benrahma, etc. But how many fans were on those two players' backs? Fornals is finished. He's no longer any good for us. Benrahma, hit and miss, hot and cold, etc. The mistake we made, of course, is that we didn't get anyone to replace either of them. Now, people are laying that on David Moyes' door. I don't know. Why would a manager want to deplete the squad that he did? All right, I know he likes managing a smaller squad, but why would he deplete it so much where you've got no options on the bench? Before those players left, we had no options on the bench because he didn't trust them. Now they've gone. So we couldn't even turn around to Fornals or Benrahma and go, you've got 20 minutes to come on and try and do something. They're completely gone now. So now we're bereft of that as well. Now, if David Moyes had let those two go, I would imagine he was probably promised that we would have at least one more player coming in, aside from Calvin Phillips. But the last day of the transfer window, when he realised that no one was coming in, he should have pulled the plug on one of those transfers. He should have turned around to either Fornals or Benrahma and said, "You're staying until the summer. Don't care. You're staying until the summer." But we didn't do that, so we got lack of options, and we look like we're back to being a one-man team again. We're relying on Lucas Paqueta to come back and save our season. Look, some players are a bit off form as well. Kudus doesn't look 100%. We don't know. We know he had an injury before he went to AFCON. We don't know if he's still carrying that a bit and he's being almost forced to play because we've got lack of options. Our defence and Knife Gerd, I've got to say, has been equally. He's been dismal. Knife Gerd looks like a player that seems to not really be that bothered about playing his football at West Ham. Now, we heard all these stories during the transfer window that he wanted to go, and if a bid was going to come in, we would have accepted it and let him go. Well, if that man doesn't want to be here, then why play him? Why put him all straight away in the team? Because he hasn't added anything better before he was out injured and then at AFCON. And then this man, I mean, there's no surprise. I mean, I would have taken almost all the defense off. I think Emerson tried his best, but I think Emerson was a lone man there trying his best. But with Kurt Zuma and Knife Gerd in the center of defense, it was absolutely shambolic. And someone mentioned about lack of leadership. This is the man that's meant to be our captain. Do you know, I still don't know who was our captain in the second half when Zuma came off. I couldn't find, I think it was Souček, but I'm not 100% sure. So if someone knew, please tell me, because we couldn't see the armband on anyone. But Zuma is absolutely fucked. Let's not deny it. Zuma is finished. Absolutely finished as a Premier League central. He might be able to come on, for the last 10, 15 minutes of a game, in order to try and sort of shore up the defense if we're winning or trying to salvage a point or whatever. But he's absolutely shattered. And with Knife Gerd alongside him, they do not complement each other. The only consolation is one's right-footed and one's left-footed. If that's the only consolation, then there's something wrong. But they do not complement each other at all. And I think a stat came out on Twitter this morning where apparently our best defense so far this season has been Mavropanos and this man, Angelo Ogbonna. Now, apparently, Moyes was asked about Ogbonna and he came up with a reply saying, yeah, but he's getting older or something like that. What? If there was anything that we needed, that was the last game he played in that shirt against, and he captained the team against Arsenal when we beat them 2-0. He was an absolute giant on the pitch that day. Nothing went past him. Everything that Arsenal tried to do, he was a brick wall in front of that goal. And he absolutely played for pride in that shirt. Why not bring him back? He seems to be our best defender at the moment. All right. Even I've said it. He is getting older. We do need to replace him. Of course, we need to find a replacement for him. But at the moment, we need a Craig Dawson type player in the team. And he's the nearest thing we've got to it. Not in style of the way he defends, but in the fact that he plays for the shirt. He plays for West Ham United. And he's going to put his heart on the line when he's out there. Because I'm not seeing that. Zuma is not capable of doing that. Mavropanos is still finding his feet. All he's got to do is stop giving the ball away so other teams can score. And Agerd just doesn't look like he wants to be here. So if we've got that problem, not only have we got a problem in midfield where we seem light, we've also got a problem in defence where Moyes keeps picking players that do not seem to be right for what we need at this moment in time. If you want to sort of defend, put your better defenders out there. At least Ogbonna plays with his mind. If he's lost the pace because of age, etc. What is it someone said? He's aged like a fine wine, a fine Italian wine. He's just gotten better. He would do a job for you. There are moments when you need a player like him who is a leader on the pitch. We heard Tim Steiden talking about the signing of Calvin Phillips last week, where Steiden said, we're trying to sign leaders for the team. Well, you've got a leader who's been sitting on the bench since the end of December. Bring him back in, for goodness sake. I'd actually like to see, for the rest of this season, Mavropanos alongside Ogbonna. I think Ogbonna can teach Mavropanos, positioning and stuff like that. And I think that would end up being better than having Zuma and Agerd. With Zuma look at that photo. Look at that photo of Zuma's legs. Look at they're not. Look, I mean, the man can't run straight. With the greatest of respect to him, he can't run straight. He's got no pace. Getting back into position. Nothing. He's not offering anything. And with Agerd by his side, who seems to be like, I'm a bit better than this. maybe I should be playing for a bigger team. Then, mate, in the summer, let's hope we get rid of you and you can go and play for the bigger team, and if you think you're that good. So for now, drop those players, because we need some solidity in the back. Alvarez, it was a shame that he got an early booking, but we need that. We need him for that solidity in defense, in the central midfield as well. And you can almost cope with the rest of the midfield being a bit shit. But unfortunately, when we've got defenders who are playing poorly and then the midfield playing poorly, no wonder Arsenal ran amok against us at the weekend. I don't know where we go from here. In terms of what happens, we believe, my understanding is tonight, I've been told, that David Moyes has got 4 games to go. But we know he'll be here till the end of the season. I think it'll be 4 games to go, perhaps, to determine whether he's offered a new contract at the end of this season or not. You know me, I've sat on the fence for a long, long time. And when I looked at how exposed we were as a football club, not just the defeat, but the manner of the defeat, and then looking at the bench and going, what have we got here? We've got players on here that aren't getting game time because Moyes doesn't trust them. So then why have them on the bench at all? So what have we got? He didn't use Ings. All right. Mabama, could have brought him on. Left-sided player, Ollie Skiles, who's now made the subs bench for the senior team for the last 3 or 4 games. Bring the young lad on. It's 4-0. What more worse could happen? Let him come on and see what he could do. At least he'll try and prove himself. But you look at that bench and you go, well, our 2 best central defenders are on the bench when they should be starting instead of Agerd and Zuma. We've got a young lad in Skiles who maybe can offer something. I'm not suggesting he'll be a game changer, but he could offer something there. You've got Maxwell Cornet that must be wondering what on earth he has to do in order to get decent minutes when we've been stuffed 4-0 by half time, and you think, all right, put some players on. What did the Arsenal manager do? He started to bring on a 16-year-old. He started to mix it up. How embarrassing for us. That the manager, Arteta, could actually bring on a 16-year-old because he's comfortable that this boy is going to get a few minutes. All right, we've lost 4-0. We were losing, 6-0 at the end. Bring Ollie Skiles on, and say, don't worry about what the scoreline. Just go out there and demonstrate what you could do. He might have been able to uncover the next left-sided attacking player for us. But Moyes didn't do that. He sat on his hands. He looked crestfallen. He looked like he didn't know what he needed to do to change this round. Look, the first goal went in. All right, heads went down a little bit. The penalty, some people have suggested it wasn't a penalty. I haven't seen the repeat, so I can't say. But the penalty, the minute that penalty was given, we knew game was over at 2-0. And then that's when, the floodgates opened. And at 4-0, reset button, go out and put a few players on. Tell them, right, forget the scoreline. Go out there and demonstrate to me what you're capable of doing. Go out there and show me that you're worthy of wearing this shirt, on the left side, up front, whatever it may be. But he didn't do any of that. He brought Mavropanos on because Zuma I think Zuma's injured, but we haven't had confirmation. But I'm kind of almost, and I hate this because I would hate for any of our players, just like the chap that said earlier, I hope for another heavy defeat in order to get rid of Moyes. I hate myself saying it, but I kind of hope Zuma's injured so he doesn't have to, so he's not selected for the next game. So Moyes is made to, is forced to make changes in defence. I hope Zuma doesn't start. And he definitely doesn't deserve the captain's armband because he's not leading out there. And I want to see the likes of Ogbonna back to bring some steel back to our defence. And I want to see, I want to see something happening on the left. I can't forgive Moyes for turning around and saying, I've got a left-sided problem when he's kind of been party to creating that left-sided problem. When he's got options, when he can play a 5 at the back with Emerson as a wing back, or he can play Cornet over there, and in order to balance the team and see what Cornet can do. No, he puts Ben Johnson there for the first half and he puts James Ward-Prowse there for the second half thinking that if he repeats what he did last time, he might get a different result. Right, let's go into your chat because I think I'm getting wound up. Trini, Galtier, no thanks. Got off some charges recently. Just mentioned that. Keith, Galtier, we don't need another defensive manager. Well, they're both ex-defenders. Fonseca is also an ex-defender, central defender, but he's got a different philosophy. Pep Guardiola was a defender, wasn't he? Or was he a defensive midfielder? But he's got a different philosophy. So it doesn't matter if you're a defender or were a defender. You can have a different philosophy when it comes to managing. But I get your point. Di Canio, not another Pellegrini, gone to retire in Qatar. Spot on. Black Country. Hi, everybody. Hope you all... Oh, yeah, we've done that one. No, we haven't had a good Monday. Mojo, 60-year-old defender, had me worried. Well, we're not bringing him in to play. Mind you, might be better than Zuma. Anthos, good evening to you. Thanks for the manager update. Good. Here's the cry of afflicted football supporters. By the way, I was asked, and do forgive me, because let me just see if I've got it. There's a channel that asked me to give it a little promo. And if I've got the... Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Have I got it? Here we go. I haven't got a screenshot of it. So if anyone's on Facebook, do go to West Ham United Nostalgia page. It's a great little group. It's all about old West Ham. So do go out and look for that. It's a really good group. West Ham United Nostalgia page. Sorry, lads. I was going to put a screenshot and I completely forgot. My mistake. Sharky, tell us some good news. Let's leave that for another day, shall we? Martin, personally, I don't like the sound of Galtier at all. I don't know where even that link has come from, but there you go. Who else have we got? Keith, if he's even remotely racist, then he can F off. We don't want him. Absolutely, mate. Well, he got off with it. Mike, mate, thank you so much. Really appreciated. Finally on live chat, thank you for joining live chat. I hope this contribution and subscriptions gives a bit of cheer after the most dreadful disaster on Sunday. Hope everyone watching the show is well today. Thank you, Michael. I seriously appreciate that. Obsidian, he will guarantee Benny doesn't come back. Trini, he said it's they just could not prove it. No thanks. With our squad, he won't last a week without getting a smack. You know what West Ham United will do, don't you? Ladies and gentlemen, we've just announced our new manager, Christophe Galtier. Welcome, Christophe. How are you? Yeah. I don't like anyone. Don't like all those people over there. Yeah, you get out. Fuck me. This is the sort of thing we do. Keith, listen to you last week, still, when you apologised for the F word after the Arsenal absolute mess. You can swear all you want. I know I don't like swearing, though, but yeah, I try not to. Keith, the good news is that Fonseca isn't a racist. However, he's on remand as a serial killer. Vinay, Moyes plays an 8-2. 8 defensive players, 2 attacking players, which is better than Antonio up top, and 9 defenders. Well, you know what's going to happen when Antonio comes back, don't you? You know what's going to happen. But by the way, people, if you're new to the channel, do hit the like button. Do hit that subscribe button. Become a subscriber. It's free. It doesn't cost you a penny, and you can choose when you want to watch me. You don't have to come on and watch every time. But if you do want to come on and watch every time, you've got to hit the bell notification to let you know when I'm on as well. So become a subscriber. Doesn't cost you a penny. NWO, we can't dominate possession. We can't do anything. I don't know. I haven't looked at the stats for the game. I think someone said we had less than 20%, and I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest with you. Let's scroll down. Hammerit. Fonseca seems a decent shout, but didn't he say when he took over Roma, their second season, that they didn't do so well? The reason was the aging squad. Average age is about 26 and a half at the time. Fuck me, he'll have a heart attack if he comes to West Ham. The average age, we've got the second oldest squad and the smallest squad now. Our average age is, I think, 28, I think. Good evening, Early Doors. How are you, mate? I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Usual. How on God's earth can you even think of giving him a new contract? I didn't say that. I said it's quite unlikely he will get one now. But All this stuff about 4 games. But that's what I was told. 4 games to get it right. My gut tells me, there's something in this. My gut tells me he will stay until the end of the season, but despite what happens, I think he'll be gone at the end of the season. I think that's the first time we're beginning to think that, I'm beginning to think that he will be gone. Who else have we got? Toha. We are having our literal, metaphorical hanging pieces tugged by the board. I just wonder if the board are going, look, we know we're not giving you a contract. We're not going to tell you that. So what we'll do is we'll give you incentives. You got the next 4 to demonstrate that you're worthy. I think they might be doing it that way, because that's another problem, isn't it? Because the longer it goes on about David Moyes not getting a new contract, the longer it's going to become this cloud over not just his head, but the whole club. And would he be spiteful to, ruin games, etc.? I'm not so sure. But at the same time, he's going to be even more stubborn in what he wants to do, how he wants to do things. Puts players out of position, plays players that aren't really fit and worthy to be playing, etc. He might not give a shit if he knows he's definitely going. So I guess maybe it's a little carrot for him to go the next 4, the next 4, the next 4. Who knows? Ray, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Black Country, not again. 4 games to save his job. That's it. Good night all. Exactly. Yeah, we've been here before. We absolutely have been here before. Let's scroll down. Who else have we got? Early doors. Knowing our board, they will keep him there till the end, and more likely at the beginning of next season. No, I don't think that. For once, I really don't think that. I think they're going to get to the end of the season and then they're going to bid farewell to him. Now, I'm sure when when I do a bit of digging and asking around, we'll probably be told he's still on track for a new contract. I can't see it now. I think by Christmas, up until the end of the calendar year, I was going, yeah, there's a good possibility. We've done really, really well. But the first 2 months of this calendar year, we've been so poor. I think David Sullivan is definitely having second thoughts, as has been reported. Russell, he has to win and win well in those 4 games to even have a sniff. I totally agree with that. Trini, it would be ironic we win the Europa League and qualify for Champions League. I'll be bricking myself if that happened. That would be really... that would be really interesting. Imagine, it's the sort of thing that Moyes could end up doing, isn't it? Well, maybe not. Well, we got to the semi-finals of Europa League, so who knows? But it's the sort of thing that could happen. Would be unbelievable, wouldn't it? Obsidian, don't mention the contract to Moyes. You know how defensive he can be. Good evening, Sean. How are you? Sean Fox Truman, Moyes out. Good evening to you. Thank you for joining. Espen, how are you, mate? Don't say Moyes getting sacked either. Still see Sullivan giving him a new contract. I think it's in the balance now. I think it's definitely in the balance. Michael, if you had Mbappe, Messi, and Ronaldo returning and available, he'd still need to go, in my opinion. Who else we've got? Mark, good evening to you, mate. Just changing the manager will G up the players. We will get that new manager hit, wouldn't we? But then we've got to get the right manager in. I think I missed a comment. Someone said, put Heitinger in charge for the rest of the season. And I could see that if things really, really went badly for the next 4, if things went really, really shit, I could possibly see Heitinger being made caretaker manager. But I still, in the back of my mind, I still think the board of thinking was safe. Let him go at the end of the season, and that'll be it. Bill, we're trying and loving the spice rum for the first. I told you, spice rum is the thing to have. Good evening to you, Jonathan. I hope you're well. No rationalisation or exploitation needed for the Arsenal game. It was a long time coming. People walking out because they just done with all of this, not just the one result. I agree with that. Good evening to you, Zorba. Yasu Diganis. Look at that. That's the flag of Cyprus, people. If you don't know, which way am I pointing? I'm pointing there. That is the flag of Cyprus. How are you? Sorry, these managers are not for me. Need someone with Premier League experience. Potter's possible choice. Any thoughts? No. I really am anti-Potter. I really am. And I'll tell you for why. And I got scrutinized on this on social media the other day. For me, For me, Graham Potter is a mid-table manager. You know, we're all screaming out for, we need to get to the next level. West Ham United need a manager that's going to get them to the next level. I don't think Graham Potter will do that, to be honest. And I think it's been proven in two ways. Not just for the shit show that he oversaw at Chelsea or at Poison Chalice, but also the fact that De Zerbi has come into Brighton and has done even better than Potter has. Potter has proven to be a good, solid Premier League manager, but I don't think he's got that. I don't know, that's something that would determine him to become a regular top six manager of a club. I don't think he's got it. I just think he's lacking something. You know, as people know, I've said it quite a few times before. Brighton have got a system. They've got a system set up. You know, the way they recruit players, the way they manage players, the way they sell players. When they sell a player, they're not worried because they've got someone else coming in that's going to replace that player who ends up probably being as good as, if not better than, the player that they've just sold for 40 million to whoever. And all they need is a coach to come in. This is why I think we're kind of missing a trick with Steiner. I thought this is what we were going to do at West Ham United. And maybe it will happen when David Moyes goes at the end of the season. Maybe that's the scenario we'll have, rather than the manager who makes decisions on the final say on player selection, on player recruitment, like Moyes has got. They might have a system like the coaching system at Brighton, where the coach comes in, and it's the technical director, or whatever you want to call him, sporting director, director of football, who goes out and buys the players, and the coach just coaches them and picks them and plays them. And that's what Potter had at Brighton. I don't think when Potter came out of that environment, I think he kind of proved that he wasn't that good. He wasn't that great. There was nothing special about him. Okay, as I said, Chelsea is a poison chalice, but and I know Pochettino's having almost as bad as Potter is, but I just don't think Potter's got it for me. If we're talking about, if West Ham fans are saying we need a manager to take us to the next level, it ain't Potter for me. Early doors. We all know it's a mayor leaving the London Stadium at the best of times, so I can understand them leaving, especially with the scoreline. We still stayed for a drink after, but it was very easy to get out of the stadium and get to the bar. Ray, even if it's the end of the season, Moyes will go. However, the real question is, who picks the next manager? It has to be Tim, or why appoint him? And I totally agree. Now, it's interesting. I didn't ask the question when I was given the two names tonight about Galtier and about Fonseca. I didn't ask the question, was Tim involved in that selection? I'm beginning to think, when I've got Galtier and then looking at the details that I found tonight before the show, and thinking to myself, that's not a Tim Steidten, but that is a, how do I put this carefully? That is a David Sullivan who's been spoken to by someone he knows really well type of managerial signing, rather than Tim Steidten going, go and get Galtier, he's going to be great for you. He doesn't look great, to be quite honest with you. Fonseca, maybe, absolutely. Galtier, I'm not so sure. Keith, the fans have every right to walk out, let other fans laugh. F them. Michael, I got up at 7:45 yesterday morning in Chicago for that shambolic performance, and I almost turned the game off at half-time, but decided to keep the game on. But if I turned the game off, it'd still be 6-0. Well, if you'd have turned it off, you would have missed. I've got to be honest. There were two cracking goals. Look, they scored 6 goals. How many of them were from set pieces? 3 from set pieces, I think they were, and then a penalty, but 2 corkers. You know, who's the guy that used to play for Brighton, now plays for them? Forgotten his name. His goal was superb. And then of course, the last goal they scored, Declan Rice's goal, that was pretty nice. That was pretty good. Trini, how is one man allowed to negatively affect a whole club and fan base? Well, it's happening. Mark, missing a leader on the pitch, someone with a winning attitude. I agree, which is why I spoke about Ogbonna earlier on. I really do think Ogbonna should be back in the team. Sharky, like the stream or Sullivan, come and knock on your door asking for money. He's got enough money. Ryan, good evening to you. Moyes should not be harshly judged for yesterday's performance. He's most likely telling the players to loiter about until the Europa. Fuck me. That really, if we go out of Europa, that could also be curtains for him. To be honest with you, if we're falling down the league and go out of Europa, God knows what will happen then. Howard, did the cat watch the game? He really is actually quite poorly. I'm a bit worried about him, but I spared him. I don't know. I was at the game, so I don't know. Even Stell's cat was sick. Good evening, English Yardy. To give this arrogant person 4 more matches is absolutely pathetic. Our ownership really dislikes this fan base. It's pathetic. He'll stay to the end of the season. I'm pretty convinced. Steve, Stephen, good evening to you, mates. Have I missed much? Just tuned in. It out. All I said was about the 2 managers that have been linked to us tonight, Christophe Galtier and Paulo Fonseca. Christophe Galtier, Paulo Fonseca, not bad. Michael, good evening to you. But not being near Suma. Vinay, if Moyes dressed up as a clown and ran onto the pitch and sang a song, would he get sacked? No, he'd probably get a new contract. Robin, Brentford will knock 5 or 6 past us. God, bloody hell. Everton will be rubbing their hands and Forest will rip us to shreds with speed and desire. If we boot out Moyes, we could win 3 of those 4 games coming up. If we get both, I believe we will get both Antonio and Paqueta back. I think we might just scrape through and get a few wins. Keith, Bowen was fouled so many times off the ball. I've no idea why the 6 match officials are saying that was really, really, really frustrating. And it was a clever tactics of Arsenal. You know, every time we tried to do it, we got penalised for it. Every time, I don't know what the officials were watching because Bowen was pulled all over the place, kept being pulled down, shirt tug, kicked, etc. Not once did he get a free kick. But that's not the reason why we lost, don't get me wrong, but it was quite biased. James, Forest are rubbing their hands. Absolute disgrace on Sunday. Typical West Ham not strengthening in the January transfer window. I agree. Our window was absolutely abysmal. Angela, how are you? See you on Saturday on the train. We promise we won't pour Prosecco down your throat. James Ward-Prowse, what a disappointment. He absolutely has been. Totally. You know, started off really well. He's fallen away. You know, I said it earlier. Our midfield is really, really weak at the moment. You know, we've got Souček in there. We've got Ward-Prowse in there. Alvarez is trying to do the job of quite a few players. Probably one reason why he's probably picking up more cards than he should, because he's trying to cover for too many players who don't seem to be at it at the moment. Dean, what fun that was. You're a proper trooper staying until the end. I don't even feel angry. I'm just resigned to the same dross on a weekly basis. Huge. I always thought Moyes had done a good job, but now is the time to go. At least at the end of the season, he's totally lost it in tactics, selection, game management are horrendous. New manager with Steiden. Now, there was another story, which I kind of was a really bit dismissive of, that apparently if Moyes goes, there's a danger that Tim Steiden will walk as well. Not a bit of it. Don't believe that. You know, I think Steiden will stay, whether Moyes stays or not. I think Steiden, it will probably give Steiden that opportunity to actually have the free reign that I think he was expecting when he came to the club in the first place. Maltese Hammer, how are you, mate? Thank you for joining. Good evening to you. Gary, that's not necessarily true, Stel. Souček puts in effort and has literally given buckets of his own blood for the club, and fans still bash him. I agree with that, Gary, but he's fallen away dramatically. Him and James Ward-Prowse over the last few games has fallen away absolutely appallingly. You know, and sometimes we've had this with Souček before where he was playing poorly, you know, and Moyes kept picking him. And there were times I remember saying a couple of seasons back, you know, get him out the firing line. You know, and same with Antonio. Get him out of the firing line. Don't play him. Give him a game or 2 rest in order to recharge that battery and maybe come back a little bit better. But Souček, yeah, he has given blood and guts to the team. I don't deny that. But he's fallen away quite dramatically. Him and Ward-Prowse have just got nothing in midfield at the moment. English Yardy, the one thing I know is Moyes will not deviate from the norm. Against Forest, Moyes will continue to start Zuma and Souček and Soufal, no doubt. Well, we'll lose that game as well if that happens. Dexter, evening, mate. After the debacle yesterday, do you think Moyes will stay until the end of the season? Yes, I do. I personally believe so, as his contract will shortly be up. Alternatives will be at a premium at the moment. Well, yeah, I mean, the alternatives that we're looking at are both in employment. One in Qatar. I bet he's not. I bet his wages aren't a few quid each week. Uh, I agree. I agree. I think it will be easier to get, well, easier. It will be maybe cheaper to prize a manager away in the summer rather than now. It's a really good point. Sharky, is Sean Whetstone going to David Sullivan's house this Valentine's Day? Good evening, Snot. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Rani, good evening to you. What I don't get about the left side is that if he's not going to play Cornet, why not just let him leave with the rest of them in January? Exactly that. Exactly that. Why, you know, extend that it's just like this Chinese torture, like keeping them there. You might as well just let him go. I totally agree. Jonathan Nagelsmann is the current German manager, but will be replaced by Klopp, but after a year before the next World Cup. So we're not getting him. Ryan, Moyes is lying in wait. Don't worry. Once the Europe comes along, he will pounce. Why play for a European spot in the Premier League when you can get it by other means? Tall order, really, really tall order. I'm not saying it's not impossible, but it's going to be a lot harder. Neil, how are you? I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Michael, I like Moyes and respect his ability to make teams tough to beat and top 10 contenders, but habit of using imbalanced teams and players out of position third season in a row is just not sustainable. I totally agree. Delton, good evening to you. Looking forward to positive comments. I hope I haven't disappointed you. Trini, would it actually make a difference if he was sacked now? It depends on who we get to replace him. Good point. Trying to get another manager could be quite costly and quite daunting. Heitinger, maybe as a caretaker manager between now and the end of the season. I think that would be interesting to see what happens. Heitinger did really well when he took over as caretaker manager at Ajax before he came to us for a second half of the season. He was there, I think last season. So that's a possibility. Other than that, whatever manager takes over, they've got the same squad to deal with. Maybe Heitinger might turn around and say, there's a couple of young lads in the academy that I want to bring through and see if they can do any different. Aaron, I can't even wish for a West Ham defeat. I ain't got it in my heart to do so. I can't do that. I understand. I understand why people want to feel that because they think Moyes might go, but I don't think Moyes will go, to be honest with you. Even if we do suffer another heavy defeat. And we've had quite a few heavy defeats this season. 4-1 against Villa, 5-1 against Liverpool, 5-0 against Fulham. We've had several 3-0 defeats, Man United, etc. And now this one tops it all with 6-0 defeat at home. Ultra, looking at who is out of work at the moment, yours, Fisher, is worth a shout if Moyes goes. He plays attractive football and did a great job at Union Berlin. I don't know much about him, to be honest with you. Bill, Paqueta was seen at the stadium. He was. And then when the goals started going in, they disappeared. Yeah, I saw that. Do you blame him? Ryan, Moyes is going to get a new deal at the end of the season, 100%. Good evening to you, Audi. I hope you're well. Looks like the clowns are cracking the whip under the big top. Jonathan, the board already said there is no one they will want to sign and don't want to use caretaker managers, so Moyes won't be sacked at all, 4 games or otherwise. I'm inclined to agree with that. Mike, I'd rather miss out on Europe next year than get Europe and keep Moyes. Good, interesting point, that. Interesting point. Will, even if you, but I should go back to that because I think if you look at last season, I think it's pretty obvious that because we won the Europa Conference and got back into the Europa League this season, I think that saved Moyes' job. I think we can firmly agree that that's the point. That's the case. With only a few months left of his contract, even if we get back into Europe at the end of the season, Champions League is different. But if we don't win Europa League and we manage to get back into Europa League or Europa Conference League through our league position, I don't think that'll be enough to keep Moyes, to be honest with you. The contract will be ended, and I think they'll just go, look, been a great job, great knowing you. Thank you very much. The club needs to move in a different direction. So even if we get into Europe, look, if miracles happen and we win the Europa League, and we're in the and we're in the Champions League, then I'll be scratching my head going, I don't know what the board are about to do now, because that will be a tough one, and it could happen. It could happen. But if we just get back into Europe through our league position, whether it be Europa League or Europa Conference, I think the board will still go, thank you, but goodbye. Maltese. Sorry. Good evening, Will. Hope you're well. Maltese. Valentine's Day is the anniversary of the 6-0 away defeat to Oldham. God, yes. God, what a way to celebrate it by getting another 6-0 thumping. God, forgot about that. Neil, I'm just hoping we can scrape another 4 points from somewhere to avoid relegation. Good evening, Victor. I see Fonseca is out of contract in the summer. I didn't check that, and that is why he's on the list. You know what? I didn't know that, because what I did, I just I Googled their details just to get a bit of information. I didn't think to look at the length of their contract. So if he is, actually, let me see if I can. I might be able to tell you. Are you telling me or are you assuming? Let's see. Let's Paulo Fonseca. There we go. That's going to come up in a second. A good point. I'm going to find out. Ryan. Ryan. Let's get your comment up if we can. Dave has done more for West Ham than the managers before him. Just a blip in his plan. Don't panic. You know me. I'm the same. I've always said, be positive, etc. And better things are to come, and so on and so forth. But even I'm getting to the point now where I'm thinking that ain't going to happen. Fonseca doesn't say how long his contract. Yes, you're absolutely right. His contract with Lille is expected to end in June 2024. So really good point, Victor. That's probably why he may be, and maybe, for all we know, we might be already negotiating a deal for him now in order for him to step in the summer. That is thank you for that. And I've confirmed it. You're absolutely correct. Andy, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Moyes out. Is there any more that needs saying? Loads more. That's why I do a show that lasts 2 hours, mate. Gary, I'm to the point where I don't care what did or didn't happen in the transfer window or who's to blame. Fact is, they messed it up, same as they did before. These morons don't learn. I agree with you on that, Gary. We've done the same before, haven't we? The difference being 2 years ago, we didn't get anyone, but we didn't sign it. We didn't let anyone go. This time, we let too many people go and signed someone in a position that wasn't the most, desperate position to get. Gaz, good evening to you. Paqueta coming back will make no difference. The Moyes twat will play him on the left. He will play him on the left. And the interesting thing is he also did play on the left for other clubs as well. So it's not the first time he's played on the left-hand side. And to be quite honest with you, I've said this before, he cuts in an awful lot. So it's not as if he sort of plays as an out-and-out winger. He cuts in a lot, and he's got a great understanding with Emerson too. So as much as I don't like it, it kind of does work. It kind of gives us a better balance because Paqueta uses that left side in a very, very different way. He creates he's a clever player. He creates a better way of utilizing that left side of attack. I don't like it. I prefer him to be in the middle, but at least he knows how to play that position. And Emerson is more confident. You see Emerson going further forward whenever Paqueta is playing, because they've got a good understanding with each other. So I don't like it, but it's better than putting James Ward-Prowse there or putting poor old Ben Johnson there. Much better. Either moment, good evening to you. 442 highlighted how Arteta, by simply inverting Ben White, fooled Moyes and opened us up. Yeah, good point. Keith, there is such thing as a caretaker manager for a few months. I believe it's been tried once or twice in football history. Well, we've had caretaker managers. Our best ever caretaker manager was Trevor Brooking, wasn't it? Elbow, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. I see that Moyes is doing his usual, throwing the players under the bus, and he even blamed Steiden about transfers. That didn't go down well. I think it's dead man walking. Yes, if people don't know about that, he made a comment about Steiden during the final days of the transfer window, where he suggested, Timmy is still learning. that the transfer window in England is very, very different, where you do your last minute deals, etc. It's not like Germany where you down tools and do all your business at the start. David, mate, you've always done your business at the tail end of a transfer window. I can't remember a time when you've been at West Ham United where you brought players in early. You know, it's not the yes, there are deadline day transfers, but it seems that West Ham United do all their transfers on deadline day. So it's not just about Timmy learning the trade. You know, it's about you, David Moyes, as well. Delton. Should Gabriel have been sent off for elbowing Johnson in the throat when he tried to go past him? I think that might have been more of an accident, but again, like I said, I've not seen the highlights, so I can't comment. Espen, doing things that don't work again and again is a sign of insanity, isn't it? Yes. What was the famous saying? I can't remember. I'm not going to try and repeat it. Ryan, who do we get if we sack Moyes? Chances are probably someone even worse. At least Moyes has shown what he can do. A momentary losing streak should not avoid what he has done for us thus far. Mate, I'm with you. You know, I've been saying this. If you watch my show on a regular basis, you know I've been saying much the same thing. You know, and I'm not nailed my colours to the mast, you know, saying Moyes out, Moyes out. I haven't done that. But at the same time, I was very much Moyes in for a long, long time. I've kind of did it, you know, I've swayed. This time last year, when we were doing extremely badly, I swayed at that time. And then I said, right, end of season, we've won a trophy, blah, blah, blah. Give him another chance. Let's see what happens. Up until the end of December, I was absolutely fine with the way things were going. When people were saying we were playing shit, I was saying, yeah, but we're winning, or we're getting points, etc. We're not losing. I can't say that at the moment. Am I always out? Am I always in? As I've said many a time before, I support the manager while he's here, and when he's gone, wish him well, move on to the next one. But the problem is, it's this momentary losing streak it's opened up, like I said earlier in the show, this defeat, it's not just the manner of the defeat, but it's opened up a can of worms in terms of the whole squad, the whole setup, our lack of strength in depth. You know, the players that we got on the bench, the players that we got playing who are starting, just like the likes of Zuma, just like Souček, just like Ward-Prowse, who are not delivering, and yet they keep getting picked time and time again. You know, a manager should show his worth. When things are not going well, you expect the manager to turn around and go, fair enough, things aren't going well, I'm going to change it. Now, he said in the post-match interview after the Arsenal game, I'm going to look at how I can fix this. Do it quickly, David Moyes. You're an experienced manager of over 20-odd years, etc. You should already know. You should already have this plan B as to what you're going to do as an alternative to what's not working at the moment. That's what we're expecting of him, you know. But to do the same as what he did the week before last and the week before last, you know, Ben Johnson, James Ward-Prowse as left-sided attacking players when it doesn't work. You know, and when it didn't work in the first half by having Ben Johnson on the left, he decided to go for Ward-Prowse again on the left, which didn't work. You've got Maxwell Cornet sitting on the bench, scratching his balls, wondering what he has to do to try and get game time. You've got to then either use him. Yeah, mate. Do you want to go down? Lynn? Come on. Where are you going? Where do you want to go? This is Wasabi. He's not well, unfortunately. He's had a few operations. You're right, mate. Go on. Off you go. Sorry about that. So, yeah, I agree with you, Ryan. You know, there's a lot that Moyes has done, which has been fantastic. But at the same time, when he's making the same mistakes over and over again, you do ask yourself, why can you not see another way of doing things? Either go with the back five and play Emerson there, or get Cornet on there. I think he's waiting for Paqueta to come back. And then he'll play Paqueta on the left and everything will be all right again. And I hope it will be all right. I hope things will go well with Paqueta coming back. Then you're just relying on all your players to stay fit. Adam, good evening to you. I hope I'm very well. Thank you for coming on, mate. Much appreciated. Barry, good evening to you. Ryan Mitchell, Moyes football is crap. If you enjoy that football, go and see a doctor. Excuse me 1 second. What else have we got here? My apologies, I got distracted. David, good evening to you. I'm David Moyes, and I'm staying. Good evening, David Bowles, David Moyes, and I'm staying. Trini, I don't get why there is any support still for Moyes. He's proved he is stubborn to the point of not caring about anyone but himself. I get why. You watch me often enough, Trini, and you know what I've been like with David Moyes. I've tried to give him benefit of the doubt many a time, and I do respect what he's done for West Ham. And I don't actually like what people say about, the cup that we won, pointless cup, etc. It wasn't pointless because it got us back into Europe again for a third season in a row. So I think there's some respect for what he's done. But at the same time, sometimes good things come to an end. Sometimes bad things come to an end. What I want to see now, I respect him. But I want to see him change. If he really is keen on keeping his job for next season, I want to see what changes he now makes rather than waiting for Antonio and Paqueta to come back. He's had opportunities to demonstrate what he could do differently, and he hasn't done that, which is a shame. Because I think if he had made changes, instead of doing the same mistakes over and over again, maybe fans would have gone, all right, at least you tried, mate. But the trouble is, he's making the same mistakes over and over. Anthos, Moyes is flipping crazy. One good game for Ings. We don't see him again. Cornet scores. We don't see him again. Good points. This is exactly it. He put Ings in as a number 10, and that worked well. He put Ben Johnson in the same game against Sheffield in central midfield. That worked well. He put Cornet on, who scored. That worked well. And you're absolutely right. Now we don't see any of that. It's confusing. It's confusing that the things that he does right, he doesn't repeat. But the things he does wrong, it's almost as if he's like trying to prove to himself, okay, Ben Johnson on the left didn't work, but I'll give it another go because I know it will work. Or James Ward-Prowse, that didn't work, but I'll give it another go because that will work. Second, and it doesn't. And yet you're absolutely right. Danny Ings as a number 10, that worked. Cornet starting over on the left, that worked. It is odd. It's odd. Keith, Cornet watched Hilaire win the Ivory Coast game. Didn't Hilaire play for us once? Oh, yes, he was a striker, although you wouldn't know if he played for us. Congratulations to Sebastian Hilaire. I still think is an excellent striker who we could have used much better. English Yardie. If Paqueta isn't fit for Forest, we will continue to see Ward-Prowse and Soucek together. I'm going to continue to say this is the worst manager in the Premier League. At the moment, Arsenal sat back first 20 minutes, protected the space Bowen likes to attack, and then inverted Ben White to overload the midfield. And they did it with aplomb. Interestingly, the first 20-odd minutes, we didn't look like we were a team that were about to get absolutely annihilated. And then that tactical switch by Arteta completely changed the game. Early doors. Our midfield seems lost since Paqueta got injured. No strength or leadership. Can't string two passes together. We were shocking yesterday, and the set pieces we were beaten on were disgraceful. And that is the kind of thing that you don't expect West Ham to suffer from. You don't expect West Ham United to actually concede goals in set pieces. We've always been really good at protecting set pieces, and we've always been really good at getting goals from set pieces. Michael, I feel gutted for Cornet. Either Moyes and Cornet have a bad relationship, or Cornet's freak injury from last season might be like Zuma's situation where he cannot play too many games. Just a theory. I've talked about that quite a few times, Michael. It is possible. We have heard that the injury that he got was so rare that it would be difficult for him to maybe be the same sort of player that he was. But then I don't understand why he gets any game time at all. If he's just never going to be fit again, then just turn around and say, mate, you're done. We'll go and get an alternative player, which is even more crazy why we let both Benrahma and Fornals go if we knew that we weren't going to be able to use Cornet. But I thought, all right, they're both gone. Cornet's going to get more game time, but not so. Unfortunately, that's not how it's turned out to be. Excuse me 1 second. Right. So, good evening, Rani. Maybe we should take a leaf out of the Ivory Coast book, sack the manager, and win a tournament. Well, Heitinger, caretaker manager, win the Europa League, get into the Champions League. Clive, how are you, mate? I hope you're well. Sorry for late right with my wife. No problem at all, mate. I hope you're well. Hammer it. Moyes does have form for coming back from a shitty result with a decent win, though. Saturday. Let's see what happens on Saturday. Elbow. Thing is, pundits say, oh, he's won you a trophy. How can you sack him? What about Ranieri at Leicester? Bet they didn't get all this shitty about him getting sacked. Probably not. Can't remember that time. But yeah. David, I think there's a few fans and pundits who think we are Crystal Palace before Moyes. We're not much better than them. And there are times when they've been better than us. Fluffy Python's back. Good evening. I hope you're well. How's things other than the obvious? Or great. Apart from the football, is he all right? Oh, did he eat? Oh, wonderful. A lot. Just a little bit. Sorry, I'm really sorry, people. The cat hasn't eaten for 2 days. He's been back from vet hospital and he ain't eaten, and he's finally eating tonight. So that's quite an achievement. I'm sorry. I should do a cat show. Sod West Ham. Isn't it more fun to talk about cats? Charles, I'll get. Oh, what's is he all right? Yeah, brilliant. Oh, I don't know if you can hear him in the back. Come here, boy. Come here, mate. Say hello to the audience. There you go. There you go. Say good evening. Yeah, that's wasabi, everyone. All right, mate. Go on. Get back in there. Get back in there. Good boy. There you go. Covered in cat fur. Right, where are we? Only Soucek for his height for an attacking and defending. He's done none of them absolutely useless. It's interesting. Since Agurd's been back, well, no, not since Agurd's been back. The style of play, as I'm sure you've all noticed time and time again, is we get the ball from the back and we do diagonal balls, Agurd at the moment, diagonal balls over to Soucek, who gets up, nods it on in order for Antonio or Bowen or whoever's playing up front to get. But you're absolutely right. He's done none of that. You know, he hardly ever wins the ball anymore, Soucek. So, or if he does win it, it doesn't go to one of our players. So that style of football is gone because it doesn't work anymore. Aidan, good evening to you. We've been here before with Moyes. The guy is a championship manager at best, dealing with journeymen who are big, will run all day long. Moyes has a huge inferiority complex. Now, the only thing I don't agree with that, Aidan, is he is a Premier League manager. He's proven that over the years. He's not our type of Premier League manager, but, you know, you don't stay in the Premier League in a job for so many years if you're not that good. So I do actually think, and I've said this before, if and when David Moyes does go, he'll get another job in the Premier League. I don't doubt it. There'll be a club that will go, he'll stabilise us. So he'll be signed again. English Yardie. Moyes is basically moist. Kudus, Bowen, even his coaching staff are in shock. He's got to go. When Rice scored that goal, I had a tear in my eye. Moyes was shocking yesterday. I didn't cry. I was frustrated. I think we got to the point where we were like, who's going to get the double runs in? Trini. We are not a one-man team. We have a one-dimensional manager who is limited in his abilities. Fair point. How far behind am I? Jesus Christ. I've got to scroll through quite a lot because I'm almost an hour behind, I've just realized. Fluffy. West Ham have regressed badly during the last month still. Is it coincidence that this has happened during what was another poor January window? Yeah, no coincidence at all. You know, we had a great opportunity to strengthen in that window. We didn't take it. We messed that up. For whoever is at fault, Steiden, Sullivan, Moyes, I think collectively maybe, you know, it was an absolute cock up. You know, we should have absolutely changed things around then. Glenn, I think the Moyes interview after the game was the most shocking part of the day. We're trying to integrate attacking players into the team. That's an interesting point. Who on earth was he talking about when he's saying we're trying to integrate attacking players into the team? I was a bit bewildered by that. I was like, what player are you going on about, mate? Jim, we have a lot of young players to play. A lot of young players to play. Moyes likes them old. Why? All the other top teams are playing 16 to 19-year-olds. I don't get it. Well, truth of the matter is, Jim, not every team is playing 16 to 19-year-olds. And if they are, just like, you know, they'll be winning 6-0 before they bring their 16-year-old on. But I agree with you, you know, but I have said before, if you're good enough, you will get game time, no matter who the manager is, even David Moyes. Now, I'm hoping that Callum Marshall comes back from his championship loan spell with West Brom. If he smashes it there, I'm hoping he'll be knocking on the door for David Moyes or whoever next season to get into the senior squad. Dexter, do you think we should sign Phillips on a permanent? No. I think it will come good. Are we in a position to be patient with him? We don't have the time. Also, would you give Paqueta and Antonio a start against Forest? Absolutely, 100%. I would, yes. I like Phillips, but I think he's a busted flush. I think it's interesting. When we were going to sign him, I did a show and I said, I think Phillips will help us in this particular way. I think he will be able to help us once he becomes fully up to match speed, etc., full match fitness and so on. But going forward to sign him, I'm not so sure, to be honest with you. His wages are high. I think David Sullivan has already alluded to, yeah, we can sign him on loan, but we can't afford to have him on a permanent because Man City are going to want about 40 million for him. I think we can better use that 40 million elsewhere. And he's on 130 odd £1,000 a week. I think we can better use that. Go and get a striker, and pay that striker 130,000 a week. Mike, Ogbonna is our best leader. He absolutely is. And he should be restarting again. That's how far behind I am. So do forgive me. I'm gonna have to skip a few comments to try and catch up with you guys because I'm way, way behind. Anthos, just imagine Moyes appoints a captain that can't even play for us. Then Souček is given the armband when he's not even good enough to be on the pitch. Was it Souček that got the armband at half-time? I genuinely don't know. E. Davis, again, doesn't matter who's in defence. You can't concede hundreds of shots on goal and get away with it. Well, I think it does matter, because at least with someone like Ogbonna, yeah, it's not great conceding the ball so much and having so many shots against you, but at least Ogbonna is the sort of player that will put his body in the way, whereas what did Agurd do last week against Man U? Turned his back and it came off him. Tony, Zuma is in hospital having a CAT scan. They found on the end of his foot. Delton, Kudus is stifled and should be in Souček's position. Agreed. How can you expect Zuma to perform when he lacks pace with a dodgy knee? Agreed. Moyes should have looked for a leader once Rice was going to give the armband to. I agree with that as well. I think we messed. It's interesting. I remember at the beginning of the season, people were asking who should be captain of West Ham, and some people suggested James Ward-Prowse. He was captain of Southampton. Others were suggesting Alvarez. Others were suggesting either Agurd or Zuma. Difficult one. Possibly I would have given it to Alvarez. Doesn't matter if he's new to the team or not. If you think he's good enough to be a captain, then do that. Good evening, Mikey. I hope you're well. He will get a draw in them 4 games. Then the process will be repeated. Copy and paste. I wouldn't even trust Sullivan with the nuclear codes. But as I said earlier on, it could be a ploy. David Moyes, get us through this. Right, another 4 games. And before you know it, the end of the season is here. And then they may say, in order to keep him on board, but Moyes ain't stupid, really, is he? Scott, Fonseca is a crap manager. No thanks. Arnie Slot for me. That's interesting. Some people like Fonseca. So I'm, interesting. George, it took you a long time, but you finally come around to Moyes out. I haven't said it, but I'm closer to it than I ever was, to be quite honest with you. Let's scroll down. Michael, hopefully the 6-0 win will be the ultimate wake-up call for the players and manager to do better going forward. Still tough, though, if the system is still imbalanced. The system is very imbalanced, and until we get that right, we're going to suffer again. And if Moyes does the same thing against Forest, we'll get beat again. Ray, a weekend where we lose 6-0. Pablo pays and scores in his rightful position for Betis. Haller scores the winner in the AFCON. Look, they did play against Cadiz, and I do believe Cadiz aren't that great a club, but well done to Pablo for getting a goal. That would be absolutely wonderful. Mandy, how are you? Haven't seen you for a while. You was there Sunday. I never watched the game as I sensed Arsenal would be fired up. Has Moyes lost the dressing room? 5-0, 5-0, 5 against Fulham, blah, blah, blah. No, I don't think he has, but I think he makes it more difficult for the players when he's not picking a balanced team, etc. I think there's still some respect for David Moyes from some of the players, if not all. I think we know about Agurd. I don't think he wants to be there. There may be 1 or 2 others that may be like that as well. I don't think we talked about this last season, if you remember, when we were fighting a relegation battle. I don't think he's lost the dressing room, but I don't think he's made it any easier for himself, to be quite honest with you. Ryan, Andy most likely got the message when the stadium emptied out. The poor guy, he could have done something special second half if the support was there. Just takes 1 goal to spark Moyes in. I don't know. Would it have been? I don't know. Good evening to you, Chris. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. English Yarded. Did anyone see Bayern Leverkusen match against Munich? It was delightful watching Leverkusen. They smashed Munich. Don't forget Steiden helped put that team together. In Steiden, we must trust. I agree with you. It's Steiden that will be the catalyst to taking us forward for the future. Ralph. Andy, can't get any worse with Moyes. I'm expecting the worst and don't care. It's down to the home fans now. I think that the away fans, if the away fans turn on Moyes, I think it's curtains. I think the home fans demonstrated their displeasure. But I think if Moyes doesn't get some wins in some of the away games, and if the away fans start turning on Moyes, that will be the catalyst to perhaps pushing Moyes to be sacked sooner rather than later. I still don't think he'll get sacked, but if the away fans turn on him, there could be a different story. Adam, we will all find out at the end of the season if we lose in Europe in the quarterfinals. He should be gone in the summer. I'm still hoping we're going to get to a final. I want to go to Dublin. Mojo, major rebuild required in the summer. This is I agree. Moyes is not the man for that job. We would have absorbed, or we've had all sorts of dross in the door to appease him. I agree. Here we are again. I agree with you. But here we are again when we were looking at the transfer window, the closing of the transfer window in the summer, and we all went, wonderful. What squad we've got. The player, we spent the Declan Rice money wisely. We've added great players, etc., to what we already had. I'm looking at the squad now, and I'm just asking myself, where did it go wrong? Where did it go wrong? Where have we gone from what looked like on paper a fantastic squad to a squad now that we're going, good grief, we'd be lucky if we get 11 players out on the pitch. Graham, it's ironic that we played Burnley on exactly the same day and date as the big protest. Same team, same day, same date. That's worrying. That was one of the lowest points I remember going to a football match at West Ham when there was a pitch invasion, and then there was pitch invasions, and then there were idiots running on, because they thought it was a laugh to do so. That was tragic. Elbow. I can see Moyes till the end of the season, losing more than winning, finishing 11th out of Europe, and then he goes. Then West Ham rebuild and get back into Europe. This will be the thing, though. Jerry, Chelsea have won. I thought they were losing. This will be the thing, though. We go out of Europe. That momentum's gone. We'll lose some big players. Will we get a chance to get back into Europe? Big question. E. Davis. There is zero chance of winning Europa League unless we get lucky draws, which never happens. Well, we got tough draws 2 years ago. Seville, no one gave us a chance. Lyon, no one gave us a chance. And we got through those. We should have beaten Eintracht Frankfurt in the semi-final. We should have beaten them, especially when we saw the final between them and Rangers. And it was kind of quite poor because we would have beaten Rangers in the final. There's the irony. Andy, Stell's on the spice rum this evening in a disguise bottle. No way. Just sparkling water, mate. Sparkling water. Barry, let's play you right, Stell. He's gone at the end of the season, but cannot be so lucky. I think it will be the end of the season. I think David Sullivan would have seen what's going on, and I think that would have put a big question mark in his head. GJ, good evening to you. I was in the supermarket buying the last pint of milk. Moyes came in and did a sliding tackle. Ulster Ryan, good evening to you. How many times are we going to arrive at he's got last 3 games, next 4 games, etc.? Sullivan is hanging on till the end of the season. So it won't cost them a lot of money to let him go now. Cost about 2 million. That's all that's left, give or take. 1.5 million to let him go of his contract. So I don't think it's the money, to be honest with you, mate. But I do think there's the hesitancy of who we're going to get to replace Moyes between now and the end of the season. Fluffy, Heitinger in charge of West Ham. He didn't even want to come here when he was still playing. Oh, well, different when you're managing and not, or when you're coaching. English Yard is shaky. Yes, I'm hoping we could be Leverkusen of the Premier League with Steiden in charge. Why not? How long have I got? I'm going to catch up. So do forgive me for missing out some of your comments, people. I try and get as many in as I possibly can, but I'm so far behind. Richard, I'm sure when Moyes was at Everton, there was a kit of times when they would fall away in the second half of the season. There were times when they'd fall away in the second half of the season. Quite possibly, I'd have to look at the history books to see if that's true. Dick Turpin's Turpin, good evening to you. We can beat anyone, but can lose to anyone. You never know. That's typical West Ham. That is typical West Ham, isn't it? Who else we got? Jerry. I would never leave early. I wanted to see how the players reacted to the fans after the final whistle. As abysmal as they played, they disappeared down the tunnel as quickly as they could. They did, apart from Souček and Soufal, who applauded the crowd, or what was left of them. Ian, sorry, still miss your show. I cannot take any more. I'm not going or watching until something changes. Mate, keep the faith. Keep the faith. Just have the banter with your mates. Jack, if the football is shit, and the football is normally shit. Spot. JWP is a central attacking midfielder, works better upfield, wins the ball a lot higher up the pitch. With him and Souček there, it leaves a massive gap. Good point. Good point. I just think he's been off the boil for quite a while, to be quite honest with you. Elbow, take your pick from Elanga or Woods or Hudson or Doy or Adiwanyu, think his name is. Scoring against us, they're playing well, Forest. They are playing well at the moment. Absolutely, I totally agree. Ian, I think the team have got no desire to do well for Moyes. Yesterday, as well as most games, there was nothing that suggested they wanted to win. And it's down to Moyes' defensive, no-lose attitude. I've heard this a few times. Where people are suggesting that they're, he's lost the dressing room, etc. I actually don't think that, to be quite honest with you. I'm not. I agree. The tactics are not great, but I don't think he's lost the dressing room. But having said that, I don't think many of them will be sorry if he goes. Robert. Why has Moyes made Zouma captain? You asked me. I think it was an odd decision to make. Knows his knees are shot and can't play a run in a game. Why does Moyes play Souček and doesn't even sub him? Anyway, I've had enough of his silly tactics. I agree with that. Donkey, good evening to you. I recognise that, Donkey. Heitinga until the end of the season, then bring in the main man unless Heitinga has been brilliant. Good shout. Spencer, I believe if Moyes gets a new deal, a lot of players will hand in transfer requests in the summer. I don't believe that. I think there will be one or two that will want to go. I think Agerd has already made that noise. Antonio has been making noises about leaving West Ham for God knows how long. But I don't think there'll be as many as you think. Donkey again. I think Moyes is a game or two away from getting the boot. Kind of hoping Forest do a job on us. I never wish for us to lose a game, just in case we lose a manager or whatever. Let's scroll down. Keith, if we're any other Premier League team, Moyes would have been long sacked. Sullivan is the reason Moyes is still here. Sullivan is the cancer. Interesting. I think Sullivan is torn between a heart. What's the saying? Rock and a hard place. I don't know if he really knows what is the best thing to do, to be quite honest with you. Paul, let's get your comment up. Forest will run us ragged. Brentford at home, draw at best. Everton away, another defeat. By the time Chelsea and Brighton will be above us, Moyes out. It'll be very interesting to see if that happens. And I think Forest, as someone else has said, will not be an easy game. Bill, been watching Minder, Sweeney and Professionals on ITV4. Look past the storylines and look how we lived. The old days. I remember all those shows. Let's scroll down. Andrew. Will be interesting to see what happens at Newcastle with Eddie Howe. If they don't make Champions League or Europa League, will they decide to part company? If so, I think he'll be an ideal man. Now, I was never much into Eddie Howe, and I've got massive respect for him now in what he's done at Newcastle. I think he's done extremely well, and I would agree with you. He would be a very interesting manager to bring into West Ham United. Lynn, Sullivan should act now. Let Moyes go. If he doesn't, the focus will be on him. I agree with that. I think it could easily turn on Sullivan. And that's why I don't think he knows what's the best thing to do, to be quite honest with you. I don't think he knows which way to turn at the moment. It's a really good point. Trucking Hammer, I remember a couple of seasons ago, I didn't mind going 3-0 down because we made a comeback more than once. Now I can't even watch this crap. I've been going and watching West Ham since 63. You've got a really good point. And I remember talking about that last season. Well, not so much last season, but certainly the season before last. Even if we went a goal down, our heads never dropped. We were like, right, okay, brush ourselves off. Let's go and get ourselves a goal. You're absolutely right. That hasn't happened lately. Stu McSee, good evening to you. West Ham showing why England last won anything with Bobby Moore. Back when Queen Lizzie's so-and-sos didn't touch her ankles. Kick and chase shit. Last had class with Di Canio. Putrid. Bill, it certainly does you saying something usual. Bad times will be forgotten once Moyes is gone. I'm not so sure, I just wonder. It really all depends on what manager we're going to end up getting. If we're getting look, there's two things here. People want a different manager because they want to get rid of Moyes, and people want a different manager in order to take us to the next level. Those are quite two very, very different things. You can get rid of a manager just to get rid of Moyes. You can get another manager just to get rid of Moyes. That doesn't necessarily mean manager to take you to the next level. I will feel sorry for the next manager that comes in, because if the next manager comes in after Moyes doesn't take us to the next level, he's on a hiding to nothing. Juha, good evening to you. I think my Wi-Fi has just gone down, so forgive me. It'll be back in a moment. Juha, no Europe, no Moyes, losing Pack and Kudus, changing manager, buying half a new squad. Things can get worse can't get worse than they are now. Hammerstad, good evening to you. I'm back. My apologies if I went a little blurry. Was my birthday? Belated happy birthday to you. What a present you got. You saw 6 goals, but not for us. I was hoping for a good result. Instead, we crumbled. Could have been 10-0 if they went for the throat. Do you think the players are affected by fan revolt? That's an interesting question, that. I think the players know what's going on out there. I think, they certainly down tools, or they lost hope in getting back into the game. Certainly when it went 2-0 down. Yes, it will have an effect. They would have seen the stadium emptying. Yes, I think it would have had an effect. Could we have done anything different as a fan base? Probably not, because we feared as the worst as well. Garino, one thing you do notice under Moyes is that we rarely have that pass and move forwards that you see with other teams. What do we do in training? Just make videos for the official channel, I suspect. Good point. We never seem to pass forward, do we? Andrew, next 4 games are all tricky. Forest, Brentford, Everton, Burnley. Could easily lose all those games. Completely agree. Spencer, pundits on TalkSport are winding me up more than the result by keep backing Moyes. Montana, good evening to you. Even Palace don't want a European Cup winning manager. Well, that should tell you more about his tactics. Delton, I'm so fed up with people saying we should be happy with what Moyes has done. Footballer has elevated, and so should West Ham. How far behind am I? I'm going to jump. Do forgive me yet again. I'll try and actually, when I see a few names that I've not picked out before, I'll put them up. Dick, good evening to you. Why do some people make it sound like it's Moyes or relegation? We have a technical director now who we should trust to bring him better. Good point. That's a good point. Alistair, Moyes is a manager with 20 years experience plus 1,000 games under his belt. But let's be honest, he's a pretty average one and a one-trick pony. The game has moved on. Unfortunately, he hasn't. Carl, 3 points from 15 plus a draw and loss against Bristol would be bad enough on its own. But conceding 9 goals in 2 games and not netting one ourselves is not a blip. It's a disaster. 4 more games. Good point. Yeah, good point. Can't disagree with that. Bolo, good evening to you. If Moyes stays, players like Bowen, Kudus and Paqueta will be on the Exodus bandwagon. They would not like to play this kind of football. It's a waste of talent. I have new games. By the way, there's some new names on here. Subscribe, people. Hit the like button, subscribe, etc., etc. Bolo again. Get your cat away from Zuma. Keith. That's great about you. Hope he meant to. It's cost a lot of money, but he better he's back asleep again, isn't he? All these new names. Become subscribers. It doesn't cost you anything. Get well soon, Del, to your cat mate, but don't show him to Zuma. Mojo. Pre-Arsenal training kit price more expensive. What's that about? You carry on, chat. I didn't understand that. Griff, good evening to you. He didn't get another job last time. We let him go. So why would he now? Why would now no club want to see this style of football? Not even the Championship. The game has moved on. I think he will get another job, to be quite honest with you. I think that a club will look at him and go, at the very, very least, he'll keep us stable. That's the way they'll look at it. Dave, evening, Estelle. I can see Moyes at Palace. That's what I'm thinking. Sooner the better. I take Potter, O'Neill, or Carrick. I wouldn't take Potter. O'Neill, he could get better. Carrick, possibly. I don't know. Delton, what's interesting is Brighton scooping up the youngster. West Ham are dallied. I still got my suspicions over Ibrahim Osman. Still not sure that there's something wrong about that deal. Espen, has any other youngster than Rooney forced their way into a Moyes team? You know what? Probably not. Don't know. Probably not. Hammerit. Once again, we've got another player in Ward-Prowse. They're no longer great at what they do. It's like a career death sentence coming to West Ham. Good point. Ben. I just want Moyes gone. Already bored shitless with all this now. Has more lives than a cat. Daniela. Never rated Phillips when he was at Leeds. I still don't, but I do hope he gets some. We get some from back. Didn't understand. Sorry, Daniela. You're going to have to rewrite that. Dave, if Tim Steidman is such an influence on Sully, could a new gaffer come to his suggestion? Yes. Apparently, that's one of the reasons why we thought we brought Steidman in order to find the future replacement for David Moyes. And I think he will have a say, to be quite honest with you. Crafty Dave, hello, mate. Have I missed anything? No, absolutely nothing at all. John Morgan. Where it's all gone wrong since the beginning of the season is the players are still the right players. They're just being asked to play a style of football none of them truly believe in, enjoy, or suited to. Good point. Mojo, the manager playing the same 11 over and over out of position, and a poor January has ebbed away a good summer 23 transfer window. I agree with you on that. Ian, we could draw Liverpool in the next round. What's Moyes going to do? It would have been a good game, but we missed our coach. Steve, it's quite clear Moyes has lost the dressing room. They have just about had enough. Who can blame them? I don't think he has. You know, I know there are players that are unhappy, but I don't think he's lost the dressing room. I still think players have got to look at themselves as well and ask themselves how many players put in a shift at the weekend. You know, because a lot of players have gone missing. But I don't think that's all down to Moyes. I think some players, you know, maybe. I think Agurd is gone. I don't think he should be even starting, to be quite honest with you. But I'm not so sure about. So I don't know if he's lost the dressing room. But you could be right. Delton, I hope Moyes have a real think tank with his coaches and swallow his pride and put correct pegs in holes, giving everyone a lift that can get us back onto the top six. Will he do that? Will he listen? I mean, what are the coaches doing? What are the coaches talking to Moyes about? They must all see that there's an imbalance in the team. They must all see there's a problem on the left. They must be suggesting to him different ways of working. Reese, I'm a big, massive fan of West Ham. Please, could you send me a signed West Ham United shirt? Please come on your irons. Sorry about that, but we're not a charity, mate. But welcome to the channel. Hammer it. Our most important priority is to keep our best players. Other than Defo getting Europe again, there's only one other way we can possibly do it. There's two ways at this moment in time we can still do it. It's still possible to get into top 6, top 7, or we could go and win it. I did say that, didn't I? Craig, first time in my life I went at half time. Never felt so embarrassed. Simon Jordan reckons we should be thankful. How many beatings have we taken? Fulham, Liverpool, etc. Good points. Lee, I think Moyes is trying to take it easy and not get any more injuries and playing shit for the Europe games to see when Europe comes, the boys will turn up and then boom. I hope you're right. I really do. Trodge, if you notice, Arsenal didn't bother playing anyone on the right side of defence because of Johnson there. Didn't need to, did they? Didn't need to because they knew Johnson wasn't going to be able to do anything damaging there. Trini, the reason why there's no loss for Moyes to go now, he's a defensive manager. How is our defence performing? It's absolutely, I mean, that's the irony, isn't it? The fact that he's a defensive-minded manager, an ex-defender, and he still can't get it right. Fluffy. Moyes still listens to Simply Red on his Sony Walkman, the one with the fluffy orange earphones. Ryan, the collapse has started. Time to get rid before it becomes even worse. Keith, still one of our cats got hit by a car. Broken leg, busted. $3.5 grand, but saved his life and leg. Barnet cat, worth every penny. Mate, they are worth it. They're little fuckers. I don't know if they're worth every penny because we've spent a lot of money on that little bastard. But they are. Elbow, am I right in thinking Howe's number 2? Can't remember his name as a West Ham fan. Shit, I don't know. Now I'm going to have to look it up. I'm going to have to look that up, Elbow, and let you know. John, Funny how JWP hasn't scored a direct free kick for us yet. That'll be something to do with us barely getting in and around the opposition box and Moyes' low possession game. Good point. Good evening to you, Johnny. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Tony, Moyes knows how to keep his job. Nothing else matters for him. £450 million spent playing crap. Jack Flash, Arsenal, revitalised after their long break, will thrash more teams with their intensity. Won't last long once European games start. Good point. Michael, don't think he's lost the dressing room yet, Stel, but I think he's slowly losing it with these tactics, team selections, out-of-position players. They must be getting pissed off. I agree with that. I don't think he's lost them, but he's kind of close to it. I wouldn't be surprised. 6 times 9. Danny, good evening to you. Yes, players do need to put more into it, but if they don't agree with what they're being told to do, they can easily become dispirited. So it does fall back on Moyes. I agree. But then at the same time, you've got to, you've got to ask yourself, when the players go out on the pitch, is it Moyes that's telling them to misplace passes? Is it Moyes that's telling them to just hoof it up into nowhere just to get it out of harm's way? I don't know. I don't think so. Because it's interesting. He didn't do it on Sunday, but Moyes normally talks about, we didn't play the pressing game that I wanted to do. We didn't move up, pass and move the way I wanted, etc. We didn't do more attacking, but sometimes I think the players they just play almost like amateurs at times. They don't do the basic things easy. Stephen, still sent you a photo on Facebook. Great. I'm looking forward to that. Better be clean. Dave, about direct free kicks, lowest ever recorded in Premier League history this season. Imagine that. Johnny, just watched the Arsenal masterclass from Arteta. All he done was move Ben White inside and left that side open as he knew Johnson would do nothing. And yet Moyes didn't even notice that to try and put someone on the left to go and attack that space. Epic. When everyone looks sluggish, it's because Moyes runs them to the ground every season because it doesn't rotate. And when everyone plays shit, it's a coaching issue. That's it. I'm done. I've done nearly 2 hours, and that wasn't even a scripted show. Thank you all very much. What was I going to say? Thank you all very much. Really much appreciated. I've got a script written or almost written about Tim Steidten, so do watch out for that. I want to do that show. I think it's important for me to do it. I've got another couple of shows coming up as well during the week, so watch out for them too. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for keeping me on my toes. Great to see so many new names in the chat. So do subscribe if you haven't already done so. Have a great week. What we can of it. We go again at the weekend against Nottingham Forest. An away day. It's the Prosecco day. Me and the lags will be on the train. Yes, we drink Prosecco, not beer, because we're posh. Thank you all for watching. Really much appreciated. And I'll see you all very, very soon.